Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at something I am super excited about because this is one hell of a design. This right here is the RE100 Gundam Lindwurm. Now, you might be like, I have no idea what this is whatsoever, and I was pretty much the same. I just saw the design of this particular kit and had to have it. So I will mention before I say anything else that I got this through Bawoo, so if you want one of your own, link in the description. So to put it simply, this mobile suit right here is pretty much a mix of Zeta and the Bawoo. This is heavily based on the RE100 Bawoo kit. That is basically the majority of the runners in here are from that, just in a Gundam color, with some new pieces to give it the very Gundam Zeta look. Now, when it comes to the RE100 line, I'm always a little bit skeptical because a lot of these were a little too big to actually work out, and you ended up with a very floppy kit in the end, and there's only been a handful of them that I've actually found really good, and that would have been the Gerbera and the Zaku Kai. Everything else I took a look at was not that great as far as I remember. However, this seems to hold up quite well. I've never built the Bawoo kit. I plan to, I do have it ready to go. But as for this has impressed me quite a bit. Now let's start off talking about the build. So once again, this is one of those kits that I did not film the build of, so I'll just talk about what I did with this. I built this sitting on the couch watching TV, so I used this little workstation. It is brilliant. When it came to the actual snipping out and cleaning up, I just used this pretty aged God Hand. This is the original God Hand I've had for quite some time, and it's kind of ended up in a point where it works great for snipping out and cleaning up. It's kind of strange. For anything that didn't clean up that well, I just used a standard file. This one I've had for so long, probably a decade at this point. Cost me 100 yen in Japan. And beyond that then, all I did was I used some of these extra thin type panel liners. I used a combination of black and grey on the white so it wasn't overkill, and I used the brown on the yellow parts. As for cleaning up the panel lines when they were finished, I used the eraser pen that you get with the set of these, and I used this with this microfiber cloth. That's how I usually clean them up. And if it doesn't clean up all that well, I use the Balancer by Gun Primer to kind of clean up the surface of the kit a little bit more. Just rub this thing on the surface and it'll get rid of any kind of mess. Finally then, I did use the included stickers. That's the stickers from the eyes on the side of the rifle. And I will mention we have the Perfect Grade Unleashed style stickers in here that we saw quite recently on the Full Mechanics Kenbu from Kyokai Senki. These are so much better than foil stickers because they do not bend, and they actually do look like a thick piece of plastic or a lens. I'll talk about these a little bit more later on, but anyway, let's jump right into the aesthetics. So jumping on into the aesthetics, and every now and then a Gundam comes along that's so unique in its sizeness that I want to get right into the size comparisons. So there it is, side by side with the standard size Gundam, which is the RX-78-2 version 3.0, a master grade of course, and beside the master grade Zeta Gundam 2.0. So as you can see, this is a large Gundam. As far as I know, this right here is a Naoki design, so there it is side by side with another couple of Naoki designs, which is the Master Grade Gundam Stormbringer and the Master Grade Jim Turbulence. Next up, grabbing a couple of random Master Grades, there is the Master Grade Virtue, which is a chunky boy, and the Master Grade Gundam Barbatos with the option set attached. So as you can see, that's a tall boy. Still, the Lindwurm is quite big. Lastly then, a couple of non-master grade kind of kits, and we've got the Full Mechanics Kenbu from Kyokai Senki, and on the other side then we've got the RE100 GPO4 Gerbera. So jumping into the full 360 spin, and there's the RE100 Gundam Lindwurm in all of its absolute beautiful glory. This is a fantastic looking Gundam. I actually love the concept of taking a mobile suit like the Bawoo or any mobile suit and just giving it a Gundam makeover. It's just a fun, effective, and cool way of making a Gundam, and what has been done here looks so good. So we've got the actual full RE100, what can I say, effect right here. I found with a lot of these kits, they didn't do what they set out to do, but this does. If you're not entirely familiar with what the RE100 line set out to do, is to make kits that are master grade sized, usually too big to make as an actual master grade, that are simplified. Basically, the build is somewhat like a high grade scaled up, but the outer detail will match your master grade collection. That is something that this actually does. The exterior detailing on here is phenomenal. We've got lots of panel lining opportunities, and where you need some detail, there is some detail with the little thrusters here and there, hatches on the backs of the arms. Just the detail is phenomenal. The use of those kind of dual style stickers looks great. We'll zoom in on them in a little bit, but on the whole, I have to say I am thoroughly thoroughly impressed by the color separation, sculpt, mold, and just everything about this. It's a feast for the eyes. So zooming in on some of the details, and we've got some great details where it counts, like the Vulcans on the sides of the head. That looks fantastic. Besides that, we've got a crazy level of detail when it comes to the panel lining. A lot of this is actually left over from the Reborn 100 Bawoo, so that's going to look awesome too, it seems. But I don't know, the way they've kind of done these just seems absolutely perfect. They are pinstripe thin in all the right places, and they're just so cool. I will mention I did use a black on the legs, which seems a little bit overkill, you think I'd learn by now, but I did use a grey on the wings, and this kind of looks a little more subtle, nicer, and a little finer in the end. So when it comes to the stickers in here, all we have are these foils right here. That is the eyes, and for the lens of the rifle we'll look at later. The eyes, they work quite well, but they're not nearly as eye-catching as those lenses either side of the head, are they? Or the lens that is in the top of the head right here, which is the main camera. Let's try and line that up and get some of that shine. These are phenomenal, and I want to see these as standard in Gundam kits from here on out. I want these as standard, always. I will mention there is color clear parts in the head underneath that, not in the shoulder clavicle thingamabobbers there, but these are these right here, which are the new kind of almost like three-dimensional stickers. So they always kind of maintain their shape. They look like actual plastic, and they work so well. They really reflect the light better than Bandai's standard foil stickers. These blow my mind. I love these. We've seen these a couple of times so far. That is with the Perfect Grade Unleashed, as well as with the Full Mechanics Kenbu. If there's any more kits that actually have these, let me know. I love them. I'm actually even holding onto the leftover plastic pieces in order to actually cut some out in future for things that I think need better foil stickers, because these just rock. So yeah, for something that does say Reborn 100 on the box, this is incredibly detailed. It is very structurally sound as well. And honestly, so far I'm impressed. Let's check out the accessories. So now jumping into the accessories, and here is the Reborn 100 Gundam Lindwurm with absolutely everything that it comes with. And what we've got in here is the essential, typical Gundam loadout, so let's check it all out one at a time. Now before I actually forget to mention that this is in here, we do have a sheet of water slides as well. These are some incredibly nice designs, and I wish I did have the time before actually filming this to get them attached, but these look like they'll look pretty cool on. So first off in here, when it comes to the hands, we have, these are kind of swappable style finger hand, and as far as I can tell from the runners, these are not the hands that came with the Reborn 100 Bawoo. So these have actually been changed for this kit as far as I know. So that is the old school style ball joint thumb. To change out the different fingers in this, we've got fist style and holding style. When the fist ones, well, when you pull them off, they actually were attaching into this little hole here in what is near to the palm of the hand. But when you're attaching the holding fingers, these actually attach into a secondary hole in the end. So they both attach on a little bit differently, which is kind of interesting. When the holding fingers are attached, they look like this, and I have to say the sculpt of the hands on these is very, very nice. So now moving into the accessories, and first off when it comes to the close range weapons, what we have is a pair of standard beam sabers, this time with a blue beam. Blue beams do not react under blue or black light, which makes me very, very sad. On attaching the beam sabers into the hands, I actually realized that the design here is really, really good. So when you actually pull off those fist fingers and you expose that peg which the fist fingers were attached into, that is now the peg hole for the beam sabers. So the fist parts do hide that hole. Once you have that attached, you just slide on the holding fingers like so, and this looks quite good. I'll also mention there's a nice range of motion in the wrists on this particular kit, so that does mean you will get nice poses while holding the beam sabers. And to make matters even cooler, when these are not in use and you pop out the beams, these are stored in the forearm, on the inside aspect of the forearm like so, which is a place I've never seen beam sabers attached before. So I assume if you wanted to, you can actually pop in the beam just like so for some, I guess like, what? Assassin's Creed style beam saber. That is pretty cool. I like that a lot. So the second and final weapon we have in here is the long-range weaponry. This is a beam rifle, and this has been lifted right from the Bawoo kit. So it's exactly what you would have seen in there whenever that came out. This is very nicely detailed. We do have a bit of color separation with the white right up here, and we do have a sticker for the sight segment right there in the front. This is a nice looking beam rifle. Nearly said saber. Hope I didn't say saber. So attaching this into the hand is exactly the same as the beam saber. That is, you pop it into the peg hole, attach on the exact same fingers we would have used for the beam saber, and that is what you get. This holds in perfectly, will not go anywhere. It poses with it very, very nicely, and that right there is what it looks like in a bit of a pose with the rifle attached. So the last of the equipment we have right now is the shield. This is mainly in black and white. Flip it around to the other side, and it's just the black from the front around back. And we've got that little bit of an attachment point right here, which is on a polycap, which pivots like so, and we have rotation. As we're attaching this on, it just attaches onto the yellow segment around the back of the arm like so. Attaches on perfectly sound, and that right there is what it looks like when it is attached. And while I'm talking about the shield, which attaches onto the yellow things around the back of the arms, well, those yellow things are actually little missile launchers. So if you open up this little section here that opens up seamlessly, we've got 4 gray missiles inside. These are not individual parts, but they are color separated away from the yellow, which looks quite nice. Once again, this can close up just like so. So the last things we have in here is a pair of base adapters. So only one we can use right now, which is this one right here. Wait, nope, it's this one right here. And that just attaches in here, just like that right there. This can be used with any action base. I'm using an action base 4 right here. Ooh, which is a little on the short side, but there we go. This is a little bit loose feeling. I'm not sure if that's the action base or the actual action base adapter, but something there isn't that secure. So now moving on to the articulation, and first off I will mention that for a Reborn 100, this is surprisingly sturdy. I've never built the Bawoo, as I've mentioned already, but a lot of the kits I have built from this line, especially any ones that came out before the Zakukai, have been a little bit on the flimsy side, but this is not. There is one thing I will mention, as you'd expect, this is back heavy. It does a decent enough job at staying upright, but these kind of heels that point in the way do mean it can topple backwards every now and then, like it did when I was trying to do the size comparison earlier on, but otherwise, it stands up quite well compared to some other kits I've taken a look at lately. Mainly looking at you, Master Grade Strike Freedom. So we do have the usual double jointed giggity 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 goo neck. There's the head all the way down. There it is all the way down, the other way was up. There it is side to side, and you get pretty much everything you'd want out of this. Not bad. And I will mention there is a transformation in here, so it holds up quite well. At the shoulders here, we've got a little bit of up and down ride here. There's a peg here that gives us the full 360 spin, but sometimes that can get a little bit in the way. The shoulder armor is separate to the arm. That is part of the transformation, I believe. There is the arm as far as it will go up. It is blocked at that point. There's all we get to the down. Quite good. We've got the full 360 spin right there, and a kind of restricted elbow, which really isn't that bad. When it comes to the wrist down here, we've got a moving segment below the wrist. That can be hard to get moving sometimes. There it is all the way flexed back. There it is all the way up. So that is always nice to have. And then it is just a ball joint at the wrist and a ball joint at the thumb. I assume the articulation here is pretty much the same as the Bawoo. We don't get anything forward and back at the ab crunch, but we do get a decent side to side there. There is no rotation really per se, a little bit. So the transformation does limit it a little bit. When it comes to the skirting armors, these are on ball joints, but we've mainly just got up and down. That's what that looks like. The side skirts, we've got ball joints as well. There it is rotating to the front and back. We've got a little bit of up and down. Around at the back then, we'll get to this in a second, all these wings and jazz, but the butt flap, that is paralyzed. When it comes to the waist, there is no mechanism in there, so the hips can't drop or rotate or anything like that. So it is just the usual kick all the way up to the front. Very, very nice. There it is all the way out to the back, blocked by the paralyzed butt flap. Let's move these out of the way to see what we can get from the splits, which is the full splits. And do we have the full rotation at the upper leg? Not quite, but we do have a decent amount. Popping the leg off to make this nice and clear to see, and that right there is the bend at the knee, so that isn't so bad. Seamless, quite tight, and does what you need to do. There isn't really much down here. This can move up and down, this little flap. Nothing really round back, and we have a little bit of a moving heel, not a moving toe, so that is quite interesting. Getting the foot on the ground to test out the functional movement, which means what we can get out of this without the foot raising off the ground, and there isn't really anything to the back, but we've got quite a bit there to the front. As for the side-to-side pivot, oh, we're caught on something there. Oh, there seems to be a mechanism there. And as for the side-to-side pivot, it, once again, what? It's like really nice to the inside, but a little, no, it's nice to the outside too. It just tilts kind of to the front. Interesting. Taking a move now around to the backpack, and this doesn't come off like a striker pack or anything like that. This is a permanent fixture. So what it can do is we do have movement right here, which allows this here tail segment to move down and up. It's got a little bit of a new Gundam kind of vibe, or should I say high new Gundam. The whole thing can drop up and down at that point right there attached to the back. We've rotation at these little fuel tanks. We've got rotation which kind of move these guys around a bit. And we've got rotation at the wings, keeping everything quite separated. That's the word I'm looking for. That flips up like so and becomes a kind of almost striker pack looking set of wings with a decent wingspan, I might add. Yeah, this is pretty cool, and as for the articulation, on the whole it is quite impressive. We're lacking a lot at the torso, which is usual for a transforming suit, but at the limbs it is quite good, the neck is good too, and you will get some very nice poses out of this. I did have the mechanism in the chest pop on me once while trying to get a pose out of it, but that is usual when we've got a transformation, and speaking of a transformation, let's check it out. As usual when it comes to the transformation in these reviews, this is my first time ever doing it just to check the difficulty. First off, we need to separate this into two units. That's the upper body and the lower body by lifting up all of the backpack, separating out this little locking mechanism that locks the upper body in, and then it all just slides off simple as that. So we've got two units, and I'm going to start with the funniest named one, which, I shit you not, is called the Lindwurm Nutter. Anyway, here we go. So now it's back to the upper body, and this transforms into the Lindwurm attacker. So what we have to do here is swing out the cockpit segment, then fold it out fully like so. This creates the nose segment. Then on pulling down the little grey segment inside of the body, the whole head drops down and into it, almost flush like we would have seen on the Age 2. Next up we flip up the backpack, but I already had these wings flipped up already. Then you line them up with the little engines round back and flip everything up like a set of wings pointing forward. Grabbing the rifle now, and you just flip up this segment right here. I didn't show it in the video right here, but you also flip up the handle too. This then attaches into the underside of the attacker, and make sure that you actually have clicked the part in the rifle into position, or this will give you a bit of a headache. And then it attaches in to the grey segment underneath and around back, locking everything that used to move into a non-moving state. Next up, you pop off the hands, rotate around this little segment where the hands would have attached, so now instead of having the attachment point for a hand, we have a little bit of a thruster or vent. Next up, you drop down the shoulders, and then you kind of angle down the wings while bringing the arms towards the back, so now that they're pointing out towards the back. Rotate the missiles on the wings forward, attach the shield on like so, and now it is finished, and I have to say this looks quite cool. Next up we have the base adapter. This is the one we would have used before in mobile suit mode. This now attaches onto the rifle, but this is a little bit awkward. This is likely to drop it every now and then. It's not the most reliable around, but once you finally have it up on it, there is the Lindwurm attacker in all of its glory. This is a very, very nice flight form right here. I'm not sure about the Lindwurm Nutter, by the way, but this is very nice. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and when it comes to my tier system, I always rank based on the grade. Now, Reborn 100 is a little bit of a tumultuous grade when it comes to what happened. It started out quite rough, and then towards the end got really good with the Zaku 2 Kai, and then just outright stopped ever happening. So I gave the Gerbera Gold tier, if I recall correctly, because it was the best Reborn 100 I had built up to that point. When it comes to classic Reborn 100s, it was the best. I gave the Zaku 2 Kai, I gave that Gundarium tier because it revolutionized the whole grade before the whole grade disappeared. And finally with this right here, this falls right in between the two to me. This is the old school style Reborn 100 with the Reborn 100 polycaps, but everything here just works well. So that means this to me is Platinum tier and perfect when it comes to a Reborn 100. Of course, that means it doesn't compare to a Platinum tier Master Grade, of course. So breaking it down, visually this blows my mind. It's huge, looks awesome, is beautiful, the colors are great, and the design is so nice. And those jewel style stickers really do add to the mix entirely. They look great. When it comes to the accessories in here, everything does what it needs to do and no more, so there is nothing really to complain about. Everything looks beautiful, attaches on great. We do have one bit of a dodgy base adapter, but that is only when it's attached onto the rifle. When it comes to the articulation here, the articulation is really good, the build quality is nice and strong for Reborn 100, and the fact that it also has a full transformation with no parts forming is phenomenal. This is everything you could ever need from a Reborn 100 Gundam, and I would say it is definitely better than the Gerbera. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews. If you want one of your own, I got mine through Bawoo, link in the description, and I'll see you next time. As always, this video and none of these videos would be possible without each and every one of you watching these videos, including those of you who are supporting me on the channel memberships and over on Patreon, including VanFon, RG59061, Lawrence Seahack, Kill Me Inc., Joseph Kukluk, Joe, Gunpla UK Limited, Global Frequency Studios, Forsetti, Caleb Engelhart, and Craig Jerry.